Don't. Skip. 10 hidden female weaknesses. Men should know. Now, high-value men and Stoicism. What if the key to attraction isn't about looking good or saying the right things, but about understanding the deep, psychological triggers that shape a woman's desires? Like men, women have subconscious vulnerabilities they can't always control. Yet most men fail to recognize or leverage these to build stronger connections. Today on WinStoic, we'll uncover 10 hidden female weaknesses and how understanding them can transform your interactions. Let's dive into modern Stoic wisdom, the power of emotional certainty. Women experience emotions deeply, but they aren't entirely controlled by them. However, one powerful force silently influences their decisions: the need for emotional certainty in a relationship. Beyond passion, women crave stability and reassurance, the confidence that when life gets tough, they won't be left to face it alone. This is why they are naturally drawn to men who remain calm under pressure. A man who can stay composed in stressful situations signals strength and reliability, qualities that spark deep attraction. On the other hand, emotional instability or neediness can create an underlying sense of insecurity, making a woman feel unsafe in the relationship. Think about it. When faced with challenges, would you rather be with someone who panics and seeks constant reassurance, or someone who stays steady and in control? As Aristotle once said, patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. In relationships, emotional stability is that sweet fruit, a quality that attracts and keeps a woman invested over time. When a man provides a sense of security, it allows a woman to truly relax, open up, and build trust. However, if she feels responsible for managing his emotions, it disrupts the natural dynamic, leading to a decline in attraction over time. A strong relationship thrives when both partners contribute to emotional stability, not when one is constantly carrying the weight of the other's emotional ups and downs. In today's world, many high-value men embrace this Stoic principle, understanding that while emotions are natural, they don't have to dictate actions. True strength lies in maintaining control even when everything around you is chaotic. This emotional steadiness isn't just attractive, it forms the foundation of a lasting, fulfilling relationship. So ask yourself, do you remain grounded when challenges arise? Or do you let emotions take over and seek constant reassurance? Imagine the peace of mind that comes from being with someone who doesn't drain your energy, but instead provides calm and stability when life gets tough. Mastering emotional resilience isn't just a skill of high-value men, it's a powerful tool for creating deeper, more meaningful connections. By embracing Stoicism and emotional strength, you not only enhance your relationships, but also cultivate a greater sense of inner peace. Women instinctively seek partners who embody these qualities because emotional certainty is the foundation of true, lasting love. The allure of the unattainable. Why women chase what they can't have. Have you ever noticed how we naturally crave things that seem just out of reach? It's a simple yet powerful psychological truth. We value what is rare and hard to get. This applies to success, luxury, and most certainly relationships. Women in particular are drawn to the mystique of the unattainable. When something or someone is too easy to have, its perceived value diminishes. This is why men who seem overly eager or available often lose their charm. The more effort it takes to win something, the more desirable it becomes. As the legendary psychologist Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists." The more a woman senses that a man is slightly out of reach, the more she is drawn in, captivated by the challenge. This doesn't mean playing games or being intentionally distant. It's about cultivating an air of mystery and self-assurance. A man who doesn't immediately reveal everything about himself or seek constant validation keeps a woman intrigued. He sparks curiosity and keeps the pursuit alive. The great writer Paulo Coelho once said, "The secret of happiness is to see all the marvels of the world and never forget the drops of oil on the spoon." In relationships, this means balancing connection with mystery, revealing enough to engage her, but holding back just enough to keep her fascinated. When a woman feels she has completely won over a man, the challenge disappears, and with it, some of the excitement. But when he maintains a sense of self-sufficiency, she naturally leans in, wanting more. So ask yourself, are you constantly available? Or do you have a life so full that she has to earn your attention? The men who are hardest to get are often the ones who are most desired. Drop a comment below. The harder it is, the more attractive it becomes. Stay tuned. Your journey to unlocking your personal power is just beginning. The hidden influence of a deep voice and powerful presence. Let's do a quick experiment. Think of a man whose voice immediately commands attention. He doesn't have to be loud or aggressive, but the moment he speaks, people listen. That's not a coincidence. A deep, controlled voice is a subconscious signal of confidence, strength, and authority. Women are instinctively drawn to it. Studies have shown that men with lower-pitched voices are often perceived as more dominant and attractive. Tony Robbins, the legendary speaker, once said, "The way we communicate with others and with ourselves ultimately determines the quality of our lives." The tone of your voice matters just as much as the words you say. Think about it. Are you more drawn to someone who speaks with calm, assured confidence, or someone whose voice wavers with uncertainty? Now let's talk about presence. Imagine walking into a crowded room. Who captures your attention first? It's often not the loudest person, but the one who simply owns the space, the man who moves with purpose, whose body language radiates confidence without needing words. High-value men don't fidget, rush, or appear unsure of themselves. Instead, they command attention with their steady gaze, strong posture, and composed energy. This magnetic presence makes people naturally gravitate toward them. Why? Because people, especially women, crave certainty. A man who projects confidence and stability is naturally attractive, while a man who shrinks into the background or displays nervous body language often comes across as insecure. The way you carry yourself, how you stand, move, and even breathe communicates far more than you realize. Mastering your presence can make you irresistibly attractive, even without saying a word. So, take a moment to reflect. Do you control the space around you, or do you let the space control you? Do you speak with confidence, or do you rush through your words? If you want to elevate your presence and instantly increase your attractiveness, start by mastering how you speak and how you move. Ever been drawn to someone just because of their presence? Comment below. The journey to self-mastery continues. Stay tuned for more. The way you carry yourself speaks louder than words. Your posture, eye contact, and overall presence instantly shape how people perceive you, especially women. So, how do you develop a presence that naturally draws others in? Start with the basics. Check. Stand tall and own your space. Move with intention. No fidgeting or nervous gestures. Maintain calm, steady eye contact. Stay grounded in any situation, even when things feel uncertain. Confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about being comfortable in your own skin. When you project assurance and self-control, people naturally take notice. Ask yourself, what does your presence say about you before you even speak? Are you exuding confidence? Or are you letting self-doubt shape how the world sees you? Mastering your presence isn't about pretending, it's about owning your power. When you do, you won't have to chase attention. It will come to you effortlessly. The unforgettable power of mystery in attraction. People are naturally drawn to the unknown. We desire what isn't easily accessible. This is especially true in relationships. When a man reveals everything too soon, the intrigue fades, but when he maintains a sense of mystery, he remains captivating. Paulo Coelho once said, "The secret of happiness is to see all the marvels of the world and never forget the drops of oil on the spoon." In other words, leave room for curiosity while still offering something of value. By holding back just enough, you create a lasting sense of pursuit. And that's magnetic. When a woman has to work to earn your attention, it naturally increases her interest. Drop a comment. The harder it is, the more attractive it becomes. Your journey toward mastering your personal power is just beginning. Why walking away makes you instantly more attractive? One of the most powerful psychological triggers in attraction, the willingness to walk away. It might seem counterintuitive, but the truth is simple. People value what they fear losing. Most men panic when a woman pulls away. They chase, over-explain, or try to fix things, but this kills attraction by signaling neediness. Instead, high-value men walk away with confidence because they know their worth. They don't beg for attention or allow themselves to be manipulated, and that's exactly what makes them irresistible. Robert Greene put it best: the more you make someone feel they are in control of your fate, the more they will want to control you. A man who respects himself enough to walk away commands respect in return. Women are naturally drawn to men who don't tolerate disrespect or emotional games. So ask yourself, are you a man who stands his ground, or do you let someone else dictate your worth? Why a man on a mission is irresistible. If there's one thing more attractive than looks or charm, it's purpose. Women are instinctively drawn to men who are focused and driven, those who are working towards something bigger than themselves. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." A man with purpose radiates energy and confidence because he is living with intention. Whether you're building a business, mastering a skill, or chasing a dream, your passion makes you magnetic. The biggest mistake men make, making a woman their entire world. This kills attraction because women don't want to be the center of your universe. They want to be part of a man's exciting and fulfilling life. A man with a strong mission never needs to chase, he attracts. The power of controlled vulnerability. Vulnerability is attractive, but only when it's controlled. A man who shares too much too soon risks coming across as weak. But a man who is completely closed off seems emotionally unavailable. The key is balance. As researcher Brené Brown said, vulnerability is not about winning or losing. It's about having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Women are drawn to men who know how to share their emotions without being overwhelmed by them. When a man opens up at the right time in the right way, it builds trust and connection. But oversharing, complaining, or seeking constant emotional reassurance, that's a turn-off. A high-value man reveals his struggles only after he has conquered them. This makes a woman feel special when he opens up, but she never feels like she's carrying his emotional burdens. Why women test men and how to pass every time. Whether they realize it or not, women constantly test men, not to be difficult, but to assess a man's emotional strength and stability. These tests can come in many forms, challenging your opinions, acting distant or indifferent, creating small conflicts. At first, this might seem frustrating, but it's actually a good sign. Women only test men they're interested in. As Jordan Peterson wisely said, the true test of strength is not how you perform in easy circumstances, but how you rise when things get difficult. The key: stay calm, confident, and unshaken. If you react with frustration, anger, or insecurity, you fail the test. But when you maintain your composure, you earn her respect and deepen her attraction. A high-value man understands that his worth isn't determined by anyone's approval. Instead of feeling challenged by her tests, he welcomes them as opportunities to prove his inner strength. Takeaway: if she's testing you, it means she's interested. Pass the test by staying grounded and you'll stand out as the kind of man she truly desires. Why confidence in the face of rejection makes you irresistible. What truly makes a man stand out? Not his looks, money, or status, but how he handles rejection. Most men fear rejection because they attach their self-worth to a woman's response. But here's the truth: rejection is never about your value. It's just a reflection of someone's personal preferences. As Mark Manson put it, rejection is not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their preferences. High-value men don't let rejection shake them. Instead of taking it personally, they shrug it off with confidence and keep moving forward. And that mindset? Magnetic. When you respond to rejection with humor, grace, and self-assurance, you send a powerful message. I know my worth. Whether you see it or not, I'm good either way. This level of detachment is what makes women even more intrigued by you. It shifts the dynamic. Instead of you chasing, women start to notice and pursue you. As the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Rejection isn't a loss, it's just another step toward the right connection. How to handle rejection? Like a high-value man. Stay unfazed. A simple, no worries, your loss is enough. Keep your energy light. Laugh it off, move on, and don't dwell on it. Detach from external validation. Your confidence comes from within, not from someone else's approval. When you stop fearing rejection, you unlock a new level of personal power. You become the type of man that women can't help but notice. Drop your favorite confidence quote below or comment, I learned something new, if this resonated with you. And remember, real confidence doesn't chase, it attracts. Why women can't stop thinking about men who are hard to read. Ever wonder why some men seem to have a magnetic pull on women without even trying? It's because they keep women guessing. When a man is too predictable, always expressing his emotions openly, always available, always responding immediately, the mystery fades.
And with it, so does the excitement. A high-value man understands the power of unpredictability. He doesn't reveal everything at once, and this subtle mystery makes him far more intriguing. If she can't quite figure you out, she'll keep thinking about you. If she's not sure what you'll do next, she stays engaged. If she feels there's more to uncover, she remains intrigued. As Peter Drucker once said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. In relationships, you create the dynamic by staying just unpredictable enough to keep things exciting. Think about it, when something comes too easily, it loses its thrill. Women are naturally drawn to the challenge of understanding a man who doesn't lay all his cards on the table. This doesn't mean playing games or being distant for no reason. It means having a level of self-control and emotional composure that keeps the connection fresh. A man who isn't always available, who doesn't immediately spill all his thoughts, and who moves at his own pace creates a sense of anticipation. And anticipation, that's what makes attraction last. So next time you wonder if you're being too reserved, remember, a little mystery is exactly what keeps her interest alive. A man who controls his desires controls everything. True, strength doesn't come from dominance or aggression. It comes from self-mastery. A man who is ruled by his desires, whether for validation, attention, or instant gratification, is easily manipulated. But a man who is in control of himself, that's a man who commands respect. As the philosopher Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. The most attractive men aren't the ones chasing after every opportunity. They're the ones who know when to walk away. He doesn't seek approval. He doesn't act out of desperation. He doesn't let his emotions dictate his actions. This quiet confidence makes him stand out effortlessly. When a man's focus is on his mission and higher purpose, rather than chasing temporary pleasure, he becomes truly magnetic. Think about it. Have you ever been drawn to someone not because they tried to impress you, but because they carried themselves with unwavering self-control? That's the power of inner strength. Women are naturally drawn to men who aren't easily swayed by external influences. A man who doesn't chase after fleeting attention, but instead stays focused on what truly matters, becomes irresistible. Attraction isn't about tricks or mind games. It's about being the kind of man who values himself too much to be controlled by temporary desires. And when you master that, everything else falls into place. The ability to control one's desires is one of the most powerful traits a man can possess. A man who isn't easily swayed by outside influences, who doesn't seek approval, and who remains focused on his own path, naturally stands out. In a world where so many people are controlled by their impulses, a man with self-discipline and restraint becomes rare, and rare is attractive. When a man is in control of himself, he commands respect, not just from women, but from everyone around him. You see this principle at work in some of history's most successful and influential men. Take Steve Jobs, for example. The co-founder of Apple was known for his relentless focus and discipline. He eliminated distractions, stayed true to his vision, and didn't chase after superficial validation. And because of this, fame, respect, and admiration naturally followed him. He didn't seek attention, it sought him. So what does this mean for you? It's simple. When you stop chasing validation, you start attracting it. Women are drawn to men who have their own direction in life. A man who is content with himself, driven by his own goals, and unwilling to be controlled by fleeting desires, is a man of value. This isn't a game or a manipulation tactic. It's simply a byproduct of becoming the best version of yourself. Think about it. What if you stopped chasing things that don't align with your purpose? What if you redirected that energy into your personal growth? What if you mastered yourself first, rather than seeking external approval? History shows us that self-mastery leads to success, and when you have control over your own desires, everything else falls into place, including attraction. At the end of the day, true confidence isn't about seeking validation, it's about knowing you don't need it. What happens when you completely disappear? Have you ever wondered what happens when you walk away from someone entirely? No texts, no calls, no explanation, just complete silence. In today's world, where people often take others for granted, disappearing can be the most powerful statement you can make. Sometimes, the most impactful thing you can do is step back and let someone feel your absence. So, what happens next?
1. The battle between relief and regret. At first, they may feel relief. For a fleeting moment, they might think, finally, I don't have to deal with them anymore. They distract themselves, going out, scrolling through social media, filling their time with noise. They convince themselves they're better off without you. But here's the truth. That relief is just an illusion. As the hours turn to days and the distractions fade, the reality sets in. The absence becomes noticeable. That sense of freedom starts to feel empty. They start remembering the deep conversations, the emotional connection, the moments that felt different from everything else. And suddenly, regret creeps in. They scroll through their phone, hoping for a message from you. They realize that surface-level interactions don't compare to what they had with you. This is where Stoicism comes into play. By stepping away, you allow them to face the reality of their choices. No distractions, no excuses, just reflection, and the most important part, you don't come back. You don't break the silence. Because by walking away, you are proving your self-worth, that you will not settle for being taken for granted. As time goes on, they'll realize that what they thought was relief was actually loss, and now they must live with that choice. While they battle between relief and regret, you've already moved forward, choosing clarity, strength, and peace. 2. The desire to play the game. Once regret takes hold, the dynamic shifts again, but instead of self-reflection or genuine growth, they turn to manipulation, desperately trying to regain control. Rather than acknowledging their mistakes, they play games. They post cryptic messages like, "Change feels good," or "New beginnings," hoping you'll wonder if they've moved on. They share staged photos from nights out, subtly hinting at someone new. They flood social media with overly polished selfies, trying to look happier than ever. But make no mistake, these aren't signs of true happiness. They're bait, carefully designed to provoke a reaction from you. Here's where your power lies. You're not playing anymore. You've stepped away from the game entirely. While they try to manipulate you into jealousy or insecurity, you remain unmoved. Their tricks depend on one thing: your participation. But what happens when you don't respond? When their cryptic posts are met with silence? When their staged attempts to make you jealous fall flat? The power shifts. Suddenly they realize they no longer have control over you. And that realization terrifies them. This isn't about being cruel. It's about choosing peace over drama. Stoicism teaches us that the most powerful response is no response at all. By refusing to engage, you're not just ignoring them, you're showing them that their tactics no longer affect you. And that silence? It speaks louder than anything they could ever say. 3. The fear that brings them crawling back. As time passes, something deeper begins to set in: fear. For so long they took you for granted, assuming you'd always be there. They believed that no matter how they treated you, you'd never truly walk away. But now you're gone. And suddenly they're forced to face a terrifying reality. What if you've moved on? What if someone else has taken their place? What if they've lost something truly irreplaceable? These thoughts begin to consume them. They picture you laughing with someone new, building memories without them, and it's unbearable. Desperation replaces confidence. They send emotional messages, apologizing for everything. They show up unannounced, hoping a grand gesture will win you back. They suddenly claim to have changed, promising to be different. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Is their fear a sign of true growth, or just panic from losing control? This is where Stoicism guides you. Their emotions, their desperation, their fear is not your responsibility to manage. By walking away, you gave them a chance to face the consequences of their actions. And now their reaction is telling. It's not about love, it's about losing power over you. And while it may feel satisfying to see them struggle, remember, fear is not a foundation for a healthy relationship. They're not coming back because they've truly changed. They're coming back because they're afraid of losing you forever, and that's not love, it's self-preservation. You've already made your choice. You've chosen yourself. Now, it's their turn to sit with the loss. 4. The void of missing you. When someone truly misses you, it's not just about your physical absence. It's the loss of everything you brought into their life, your energy, your support, your presence. At first, they may brush it off, telling themselves, "I'll just move on." But as time passes, reality sets in. The silence becomes deafening. The daily routines that once felt normal now feel hollow. They go through the motions, but there's a gnawing emptiness they can't escape. The laughter you shared, gone. The stability you provided, missing. The simple comfort of knowing you were there, now just a memory. It's like walking through a once familiar home that suddenly feels cold and unwelcoming because the warmth you brought is no longer there. They'll try to fill the void, throwing themselves into work, distracting themselves with new relationships, burying the pain in entertainment, social media, or shallow distractions. But deep down they know the truth. No one else can replace what you offered. They might convince themselves that they found something similar, but it's never the same. Because the space you left behind was shaped by your unique connection, and no substitute can truly fill it. The power of walking away. This realization doesn't come easily. It's often accompanied by regret, the painful understanding of how much they took for granted. While you were there, they assumed you'd always be a constant, that your support, your presence, your energy were things they could always count on. Now, with you gone, they face a harsh truth. You were irreplaceable. But here's the key. This isn't about revenge. It's not about trying to prove a point or make them suffer. It's about reclaiming your value. Walking away is one of the most powerful statements you can make. It's a declaration that you refuse to be taken for granted, that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. And this is where Stoicism comes into play. What Stoicism teaches us. A Stoic mindset reminds us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our emotions, our peace of mind. You don't need to beg for appreciation. You don't need to explain yourself. Simply walking away is enough. The lesson for them and for you, when you leave, you're not just creating distance, you're creating an opportunity for growth. For them, your absence forces them to confront what they lost. It teaches them that people who bring value into their life aren't guaranteed to stay. For you, it's a reminder of your worth. Ask yourself, how many times have you taken people for granted, assuming they'd always be there? What if they walked away? Would you realize their value only after they were gone? This lesson applies to everyone because high-value people know their worth. They don't stay in situations where they are unappreciated. When you walk away, you're not just setting a boundary, you're giving the other person the space to reflect on what they lost. And that absence is not about making them feel sad, it's about waking them up, forcing them to realize what they had before it was gone. 5. The shift when they start chasing you. After all the reflection and regret, something shifts inside them. They stop questioning their past mistakes and start desperately wanting you back. The roles have reversed. You were once the one who reached out, who cared, who put in the effort. But now, it's their turn to chase. The idea of losing you for good begins to haunt them. They can't escape the thought that maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance to make things right. They start testing the waters, liking old photos, leaving comments, and sending those late night "I've been thinking about you" texts. Maybe they even try to create a coincidental run-in, hoping to make it seem like fate instead of a calculated move. This is where your power truly comes into play, because now the dynamic has completely shifted. They finally see your worth. They finally realize what they lost, but maybe a little too late. The power of not reacting. Stoicism teaches us to act with clarity and purpose, not impulse. Their sudden pursuit isn't necessarily about genuine change. It's about regret and an attempt to regain control. This is your moment to hold your ground. Stay silent, don't engage. Let them prove their growth through actions, not empty words. By refusing to react, you preserve your peace and send a powerful message. Your worth isn't defined by their regrets. You've already moved on. 6. The obsession of curiosity. Curiosity is one of the most powerful forces in human nature. And when someone disappears without a trace, the curiosity only intensifies. Think about it. When you completely remove yourself from someone's life, you leave behind a trail of unanswered questions, and those questions can become obsessive. Where did they go? What are they doing now? Have they moved on? At one point, you were an open book to them, always available, easy to read. But now, you're a mystery they can't solve, the spiral of obsession. The uncertainty starts eating away at them. They check your social media, hoping for clues, but they find nothing. No updates, no posts, just silence. And that's when they realize silence is louder than words. They no longer have access to you. You're no longer part of their world. They're left to wonder, and the more they wonder, the deeper they fall into obsession. Are you happier without them? Is someone else filling the space they left behind? Are you thriving in ways they never expected? Every attempt to check up on you, every search, every small breadcrumb they look for, ends in frustration, and the silence continues. The power of absence. This is where your true power lies, not in words, not in confrontation, but in simply being absent. Your lack of response forces them to reflect, not just on you, but on their actions, on how they treated the connection you once shared. They don't get the comfort of knowing you're still there. They don't get the reassurance they once took for granted. And that is what makes them feel your absence the most. What this means for you. This isn't about manipulation, it's about boundaries. Stoicism teaches us that true peace comes from within, not from external validation. By walking away and choosing silence, You're not playing a game. You're simply choosing yourself. And that is where your real strength lies, the consequences of their actions. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the best way to show someone the value of something is by letting them feel what it's like to lose it? You don't need to explain, you don't need to argue, you don't need to convince them. Silence speaks louder than words. When you walk away, they start to feel the weight of their choices. They begin to realize they've let something irreplaceable slip through their fingers. The power of unanswered questions. Think about a time when you were left with unanswered questions. When someone suddenly disappeared from your life, didn't you find yourself obsessing over why? It's human nature. We crave certainty. We seek answers to feel secure in our relationships. We want closure to make sense of what happened, and when those answers don't come, curiosity takes over, sometimes to an unhealthy degree. Now they are the ones stuck in this cycle. The longer they search for answers and find nothing, the more they're forced to reflect. Maybe, just maybe, they'll realize they should have treated you with more care, respect, and appreciation when they had the chance. Your absence might just be the wake-up call they needed to grow. How silence serves you. But what about you? How does choosing silence benefit you? When you choose silence, you choose peace. You maintain control over your own emotions. You reinforce your boundaries. You focus on your growth instead of their regret. That's what Stoicism is all about. You're not playing games and you're not trying to punish them. You're simply living your truth and letting them face the reality of their own actions. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, respond, or break your silence, remember this: silence is your ally. It creates space. It forces reflection. It allows both of you to grow. You are not responsible for their curiosity. They are responsible for how they handle the absence you created. 7. The crushing weight of silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. In a world of constant communication, instant replies, notifications, and endless distractions, your absence stands out. It's not just about unanswered texts or missed calls. It's the emptiness that forces them to confront their own thoughts. When you choose silence, it becomes a message they can't ignore. The reflection. They can't escape. Suddenly they start replaying everything, every missed call, every ignored text, every moment they took you for granted, and now, without you there to fill the silence, they're left alone with their own regrets. Have you ever noticed how silence makes everything feel heavier? That's because it forces people to confront the truth, and the truth can be uncomfortable. They start to see what they had. They start to understand what they lost, and they know they can't undo it. Your silence isn't about punishing them. It's about protecting your energy. It's about setting boundaries. It's about self-respect and making them sit with the weight of their own mistakes. And in that space, they begin to learn a painful but necessary lesson: to value people while they still have them. Your silence equals your power. Stoicism teaches us to act with intention, to know when to speak and when to stay silent, to control what we can and let go of what we can't, to prioritize inner peace over external validation. By choosing silence, you're reclaiming your power. You're no longer chasing, you're no longer explaining, you're simply living your truth. And the weight of your silence is something they won't soon forget. 8. Deep self-reflection. Your absence does something they never expected. It forces them into deep self-reflection. This is the stage where every moment they once dismissed starts resurfacing. Every ignored text, every broken promise, every time they failed to prioritize you. Now there's no more avoiding it. The reality they must face. Without you there to reassure them, smooth things over, or make excuses for them, they are left to face the truth of their actions. Every mistake becomes a weight they must carry. Every regret becomes impossible to ignore. Every realization cuts deeper than the last. They now see that they were the architect of their own loss. And that is a painful but necessary lesson. Growth comes from discomfort. Stoicism teaches us that true growth comes from discomfort. Self-awareness isn't easy. It requires painful realizations and the ability to sit with hard truths. And now, without you there to distract them, they're left alone with their own regrets. This process is theirs to experience, not yours to manage. You don't need to step in. You don't need to offer comfort. You don't need to explain anything. By walking away, you've already given them the greatest opportunity for growth. Now it's up to them to face it. Where does this leave you? This isn't just about their self-reflection, it's also about yours. Now is your time to focus on checkmark your own growth, your own healing, your own peace. By resisting the urge to intervene or seek validation, you're allowing yourself to truly move forward. So let them reflect. Let them sit in their own discomfort. Let them figure it out on their own. Because this moment of self-awareness is where real change begins. And for you, this is where you step fully into your power, peace, and freedom. 9. The sting of rejection. Rejection is a powerful force. It cuts deep, not just because of someone's absence, but because of what that absence represents. For them, you were a constant, the one who always showed up, the one who cared, who put in the effort, who made them feel secure. But when you walk away, it's like a sudden void, a loss they never saw coming. The unexpected impact of your absence. At first, they don't believe it. They assume it's temporary, that you'll come back like you always do. But then reality sinks in. The comfort you provided, gone. The validation they relied on, gone. The emotional safety net they took for granted, gone. And with it, their ego takes a hit. For the first time, they feel powerless. They thought they had control, that you would always be an option. Now they're forced to confront a harsh truth. They never truly had control over you. You were never just an option. You were never someone to be taken for granted. A real-life example, Rachel's story. A friend of mine, Rachel, experienced this firsthand. She was in a long-term relationship with someone who took her for granted. She was always the one making plans, always the one offering love and support, always the one holding the relationship together. And over time, she became emotionally drained. One day, she made a decision. Enough was enough. She didn't send a long, dramatic message. She didn't give him an ultimatum. She didn't beg for change. She simply disappeared. No responses to his calls, no presence on his social media, no explanation, just silence. At first he was confused. He thought she was upset and that things would blow over. But as the days turned into weeks, the silence started to eat at him. He tried reaching out, no response. He even showed up at her place, hoping for some kind of reaction. But there was nothing. And then, through mutual friends, he found out. Rachel had moved on. She was focusing on herself. She was chasing her own dreams. That's when the sting of rejection hit him the hardest. He realized, too late, that he had taken her for granted, that she had given him everything while receiving so little in return. But the most painful part? It wasn't just that she was gone, it was that she no longer needed him. No anger, no resentment, just a quiet, undeniable disappearance, the silence that says everything. He had always assumed she'd be there, that no matter what, she'd stick around, that he could treat her as an afterthought, and she'd still be waiting. But the moment she left, he had to face the truth. She was no longer an option. She was no longer waiting. And he had lost something irreplaceable. Her absence wasn't just a void. It was a mirror forcing him to see what he had failed to appreciate. And in the end, her silence spoke louder than any words ever could. Why walking away is the most powerful move. Leaving isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-respect. You don't need to argue, you don't need to beg, you don't need to prove your worth. By walking away, you reclaim your peace, you reclaim your value, and in that silence, the sting of rejection is felt even more deeply, because suddenly they realize what they thought was constant is gone. Conclusion: reclaiming your power. True happiness doesn't come from external validation. It comes from mastering your emotions. The Stoic mindset teaches us this. Let go of what you can't control. Stop chasing those who don't appreciate you. Build a life rooted in purpose, resilience, and growth. So, how can you apply these principles in your daily life? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. If this resonated with you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Win Stoic, and share this with someone who needs a reminder to take back their power. Together, let's embrace the strength of Stoicism for a happier, more meaningful tomorrow. Love.